Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Clap Louder. Today we are talking to a photo video team based out of Utah called Tellthebirds. They make amazing content. Vlogs, weddings, photos, anything you could want. It's all gorgeous. I'll link that all down below. And if you'd like to get in contact with us, our email is clappodcast@gmail.com. I think that's it. Enjoy the show.
Well, yeah, so me and Breea met at EFY were we at BYU?
I think so.
Because I did a lot of like local ones, but for those who don't know, EFY it's called Especially for Youth, and it's like a program that our church does. Like it's like a
nerd camp. It's nerd camp.
It really is. It was so fun though, and then we just like kept in touch, right? And I think you, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were kind of like starting your business and like you had reached out to me and you're like, I would love to do a shoot of you. And then I really liked your stuff. And so like I've had you do other shoots and everything, but we've just kind of kept in touch, and I watched you guys meet and get married, and then you watched, but it's funny because our husbands haven't met and we haven't met each other's.
Yeah, but I do feel like, and I felt like this at EFY, but we're kindred spirits, and I feel like our husbands are very similar as well too. So I think it's just
I feel like we connected well at EFY. So
I don't.
Did you just become best friends?
Well, we were forced into it.
It literally looks like Shiloh's doing a seance right now.
We look back, there's like a pentagram. Candles are lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like starting to like float. I'm like, okay, we gotta go.
Welcome to Clap Louder. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, there you go. Love it. This is Breea and Cody of Tellthebirds.
yes,
That's right.
that's us.
Portia obviously knows a lot about you guys, a lot about you, Breea. But how did you guys get started? Because Tellthebirds originally started with just you, right?
Right. Yeah. So I started my business back in 2012. So I had been taking pictures all throughout high school, and then I made it a real business in 2012, and then got into videography in 2014, and then just grew from there. So, and then he joined on in 2016, 17, 18. When we met, he just started coming to shoots with me, got really into it, and then he quit his job and went full-time with me like the week before our wedding. And
Parents were thrilled.
Yeah. It was so fun. Now we're full-time together.
That's awesome. So, Cody, do you have a photo video background, or just all self-taught?
No, I had never really done it. My dad had like a kind of a nicer camera.
He's a good learner. He loves to learn things and then just like get really into it and like perfect it.
Yeah.
So he's better than me now. It's kind of annoying.
Come on.
I know some of the technical stuff better than her, but I'm definitely still working on the creative side and just having the eye for what looks good. That's
That sounds like a great team though,
Yeah, I always joke around with people that like
I feel like that's kind of like us.
Yeah, like I'll take the photos and I'm like, oh, Portia, look at this lighting. It's like the most gorgeous thing in the world. She'll be like, her hair is insane and her posing is weird. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So it's good to have
the lighting.
And the lighting though. Can't you just appreciate the lighting though?
It's interesting though, because when I met him, I thought that I had this like perfect business and I was nailing it. And then he was like, okay, well, like, what about your taxes? And what about your invoicing? And like all these things that I just was not good at. Yeah. And so he just kind of took care of that stuff and still does and rounded out the business.
That's amazing. That is hard because, and I feel like a lot of times creatives get accused of that. I remember there was an ongoing joke in my communications degree that it was like, oh, well, we're all communications majors, so we can't do any math. Because they'd be like, what's 5 + 5 in our class? And we'd all get out our phones to do the math,
Yeah.
So it's good to have that business side of things, for sure. Speaking of business side, our son is...
Shiloh is actually our tax guy.
He's our accountant.
I was working on the bookkeeping.
Yeah, he's just doing a little bookkeeping now. Guys, it's wild over here. Thank you for coming along on the ride with us. This is the only way we can get these things done. But that's really cool, man. I think it's cool to. I love couples when couples work together, and maybe that's just because Portia and I work well together. Mm-hmm. But there's something about that. And I was in preparations for this interview. I was like watching all you guys' content, and I watched your video, Breea, that you did about your anniversary.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think you wrote in the bio of your website that you just love to make people cry.
Yes.
Well, mission accomplished.
All of your birth videos.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, can't. Like even just like the beginning music, I'm like, okay, see ya. I'm done. My tears are already here.
Yeah, I love saying that because it kind of catches people off guard. They're like, oh, that's rude. But that's like the main thing I love about videography is just emotion. And that's kind of what drives us, or me at least, in the creativity side, is just making people cry.
Yeah. I
like that.
Yeah, I like that too. Cody, there was something that you said earlier that I want to touch back on when you were like, your parents were thrilled that you quit your job and stuff. Yeah. Just as going back, this is a podcast for creatives, by creatives, we talk to creative people. And I think that's a big ongoing thing in the creative realm is that I feel like a lot of parents maybe want us to do more practical things or things that aren't as scary or entrepreneurial, like running your own photography and video business. So how did you overcome that? How did you overcome that feeling?
So my parents have always been super supportive and like I feel like have a really good trust in me, and so that wasn't really an issue. But when I talked to Breea's parents, I can definitely see why there would be some some insecurity on their end as far as, all right, is this gonna work out, or
like how is he supporting my daughter if he's like tagging on with like what she's doing?
Yeah.
And I think they've always kind of been a little bit, I mean, they're a lot better now, but I think when I first started and first went off to college and was like, I am like in Utah, just like starting my own business and like not working at all and not going to school. I was just like, I was using Utah as like a good place for clients. And I think they were just looking at it as more of a hobby. And a lot of people do. And a lot of people still call it our hobby or our, whatever. And so I always kind of felt like my parents didn't totally understand it. And so then when he joined on with me, they're both like, okay, so you guys are both just like not doing anything. But they're a lot better now. I think it makes more sense now that, we're buying a house and we're...
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, hopefully they understand now that you can afford to get a house, So.
Right. So we kind of have to prove that we're making money, but...
Yeah.
Or at least pretend like we are.
Yeah. Well, I think inherently, I know you guys have dealt with this. All photographers have dealt with this, but when you're just starting out, the whole like, well, come do a photo shoot for us or take pictures of our products and just put it in your portfolio and we'll just call it even,
mm-hmm.
which is a big thing. And I think it's because...
Or they don't want to pay like
right
the pricing that you've said because it's too expensive.
Right. Which is difficult. And because we live in the cell phone era, it's everyone can point their phone, take a picture, right? But
and a lot of people can buy a camera and just
and be a photographer.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think is great, but like I think it's great. Like learn it, love it. That's how we all got started, was picking up a camera and shooting pictures of our friends and charging way less than we should. And I get that, but I think it's difficult when people don't respect what photographers and videographers do.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Cody, like what you were saying, like, the more technical stuff, but the more art kind of, not more art, but you're just saying that she's really good with kind of that side of it. Whereas it was easy for you to pick up the more technical stuff.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, we've definitely been through that. And, I think every photographer, videographer starting out, I mean, any creative or anyone even starting their own business probably struggles with pricing and feeling like they're providing enough value. There's a lot of that confidence that has to be there to be able to price higher and like feel that you're worth it.
And then being scared of like, okay, well, if I charge too much, I'm not going to get clients.
Yeah. They're like, my stuff's not good enough. I think that comes with time. And, you know, as we've gotten busier and we've been able to take bigger clients,
And
like
improve our gear.
I think there's just kind of this hump you have to get over of like where you're doing little family shoots or family and friends that, you know, you're like, all right, $20, $50, and any higher than that, they're like, that's way too much. I can get it somewhere else. But you get over that, and there are companies and there are people and weddings who are willing to pay because they want the quality and they want your style. And so getting to that point can be difficult, but I think anyone can get there if they just kind of keep at it long enough.
So what would you recommend then to like a young photographer trying to get up and over that hump?
I feel like when I first started, when I was shooting pictures of my friends like Portia and just trying to like get a portfolio and get a good Instagram feed or whatever it was, I did all of that for free. And then once I started feeling more confident, I made a goal to up my price by $100 every month until I got to a certain price. My dream was to charge $1,000 for a wedding. And so at that point, it was charging $100 every month extra to get to that point. And then I just did it, and I still was getting clients. And so I was like, okay, it's working. Like I'm still getting clients. I'm, moving forward. And then I finally got to that 1,000, and then I capped it at like 1,200 or something. And I was at 1,200 for a wedding for like years, I feel like. But I felt comfortable. I felt like I was getting what I deserved from all the work that I was doing. And so I felt like that was a good spot for me. And then as I spent more money on gear and stuff, I felt the push to kind of up it a little bit more, 1,500, 2,000, whatever.
Now we're up to $1 million.
Just $1 million.
Wow. Fantastic.
But yeah, just taking those steps, making goals to a price that you want to be at, that you feel comfortable, that you feel like you are getting what you deserve.
Yeah. I like what you said about doing it incrementally, like month by month.
That's cool.
Because technically what you're doing is you're paying for experience, right? So when you hire somebody like you guys, you're going, yeah, I'm going to pay more because they are experienced, because they can tell an amazing story, and so to up that once a month, if you're continually shooting, then that totally makes sense. And I think a lot of photographers, including myself, have the imposter syndrome where they don't feel like they're good enough.
Yeah.
Or so that's like a good systematic way of knowing your worth, I guess. That's cool.
I think at the beginning, and something that helped me was just diving in and learning as much as I could. I think, for a beginner photographer, videographer, like even when you are making only $20 a shoot, or even doing like free shoots or trades, the more you do, the more people hear about you, the more referrals you'll get. You can't just sit around and wait for that, $500 client or whatever. It's just like, the more you put out there, the better you're going to get, the more confident you'll feel. And that all starts to snowball to where you can get better and start charging more.
Well, Cody, I like what you're saying. So there's a saying that we've all heard a million times, and that is, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And I always think that's funny because, especially watching people like you guys, wedding photographers, and I would say that you have a big influence on social media as well. Like, I don't think people see all the behind the scenes of like what it takes to post every day, high content stuff. So can you speak to that? Do you guys feel like you're not working a day in your life?
Yeah, we talked about this recently. I think it's kind of a tricky question, but I think it's somewhere in the middle, because we've both worked. I mean, I worked more like 9 to 5, kind kind of for a boss jobs than Breea has.
I had like one 9 to 5 for like 2 months before I got fired. So,
So she's never worked a day in her life. No, but I've been there. I was there for 3-4 years where, you know, sitting in the same desk every day, doing the same thing. You know, being in companies where I didn't really believe in the product or what I was doing. Like my main goal was to make money. And I think it's harmful to like spread the idea that if you're doing something you love, you don't have to work, because, you know, we're doing something that we love and we really enjoy it. And there are times where it's really fun. But there is a ton of work involved, especially if you're trying to grow the business and get better at what you're doing. I think there's always going to be that element of work. There's always going to be times where you feel stuck or you feel bored. Like there aren't really like dream jobs where you're just like 100% enjoying it.
I think there's a cool part about it, and I think that's something that is really intriguing to a lot of people, is that we own our own business, and so we get to pick our own hours, pick our own clients, all that good stuff. But with that, I feel like we work more than a 9 to 5. We work Saturdays, we work every other day, and we work a lot more than our friends who work 9 to 5s. And so I definitely think it's not like we're working, because there's so much more to it than just taking pictures. There's just so much. I can't even like explain all of it.
Yeah. So that freedom that comes with being able to pick your own clients and your own hours and stuff like that, it comes at a cost.
You feel like you are working less than when you're working for someone else 9 to 5.
Right.
But there's still work, still things you have to do, and it's not all amazing all the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just emotionally, you probably feel like, I mean, it's hard to be under bosses that don't care about you or just see you as like a number. So there's like stress in that I feel like adds to your work hours. So working for yourself, I feel like you get a little bit less of that. It might not feel like as much work, but.
Oh, I maybe should have asked this at the beginning, but I'm interested to know where Tellthebirds came from.
Yeah. That's a question we get every day. But which always kind of makes me rethink it. Just be like, why did I do that? Why? Because now people just ask me every day. But I'm so glad that I did, because when I initially was trying to figure out my business name, I knew I didn't want to use my name because I don't really love my name and people say it wrong and spell it wrong. And I also knew my last name was going to change at some point. So I definitely didn't want to use my name.
And you wanted it to be bigger than just yourself.
And a big part of it was I really wanted to have employees or be able to expand it outside of photography. So like Breea Guttery Photography or Breea Brigham Photography or whatever. I wanted it to be something that if I did want to paint, or I can't even think of anything that I do.
Like extend out of
Yeah,
yeah.
be able to, if I wanted to own a clothing business alongside of it or whatever, it could be Tellthebirds. So I wanted it to be a phrase, and my grandpa was the one who got me into photography, I feel like. Had a big influence on it. He was a photographer and videographer in the Korean War, and so he showed me a lot of his old footage, and he gave me some of his cameras to develop, and so that kind of really got me into it. So I knew I wanted to have it deal with something with him, and this is like a really roundabout way of telling you, but so my grandma collects birds, like not real birds, but just like little trinkets and like.
She's got a whole bag of birds.
Yeah, and I have like a memory of my grandpa calling my grandma Bird, so I knew I wanted Bird in there, and then Tellthebirds just kind of became a phrase. So it's not like the best story, but there's parts of it that I guess are kind of cute. So
That's very cute.
That's very cute. It's your family.
yeah. So yeah, it's kind of a mantra to my grandpa.
I love that. When I hear Tellthebirds, I just think of the Coldplay song. I don't think it's called. Is there one called Tellthebirds?
It's called Birds.
Birds, yeah.
But yeah, we love Coldplay, so.
Portia and I used to do this thing when we were dating where we would drive back and forth between BYU, Idaho, and Utah, where her family lives all the time, 4-hour drive. And we would just be like, here are some songs that like really like hit us. And we would always just like sit there and just cry listening to these songs. And a lot of them for me were Coldplay, for sure. Yeah.
And you were doing most of the crying, not me.
I can see that.
Yeah.
No.
Michael's a way bigger softie than I am.
Cody cries in movies a lot.
Just one of them inspired.
Oh, and he doesn't wipe his tears either, so you just like see like just like running water.
I don't want my makeup to run.
I have always been. I have a running joke with my friend. My friend is like very stoic, and he was like, "Yeah, man. After the situation, I was like close to tears." And I was like, "I live my life close to tears. I live my life on the edge of just crying all the time." I was like, "A good commercial comes on, boom, I'm crying."
One paper cut, done for.
Well, and then especially after having my son, it's like just waterworks all the time. It's not good.
Anything about being a parent or having kids, we're like, oh.
There are a lot of times too, we'll come across some show or something and they'll start talking about parenthood, or they'll start talking about maybe even like losing a child or something like that. And we're like, turn it off. Turn it off. I can't even think about it. Yeah. So
our ideal clients. We could just we could do something for you, or you'll cry, whatever we do.
Yes.
So I know we just touched on music a little bit. You said you love Coldplay. One thing I noticed about a lot of your work, and I encourage everyone, as always, all of Tellthebirds content will be linked down below. One thing I noticed about all your guys' content is fantastic music. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, how do you source your music? Where do you find it? What are you looking for when you find it?
I think so. At the beginning, before I knew about licensing and all that horrible stuff with just all that
copyright and all that. Yeah.
I would just use my favorite emotional music that made me like feel something, and so I would use Sleeping at Last, Coldplay, like all these big things, and then they would get flagged. But I was like, whatever, it sounds good, it looks beautiful. Until that YouTube started taking them down. And then I was like, okay, crap, I got to figure out like how to find music like that can still like make me feel something, but like doesn't sound cheesy and like dingy and whatever. So I went through so many different sites. Like you could name all the music sites and I've probably tried them all. But right now, and for the past year, probably maybe 2 years, we've been using Artlist, and it's awesome. It's as close as we can get to, you know, the real stuff that we love. So that's most of our stuff. We also use
Pleasant Pictures
Music Club for some of our like more clients, more what's it called?
Funky.
Yeah, funky like product stuff.
Oh, okay.
So for different projects, we use different sites, but Artlist is where I get most of my cinematic stuff.
That's cool. So let's say you had a wedding client. Do you send them like, hey, here are 3 songs I was thinking about, choose your favorite? Or is it like you'd send them to the website and you go, you find something that you like? Or how's
you
that
just
go?
fully choose it?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, I used to be super against them telling me what to do until I got some like clients that were like, no, I don't like my video unless I pick the songs. And I just have a really hard time with
negative feedback.
So I was just like
changes,
not about changing and stuff. So I normally would pick the songs and just be like, this is what I think it should look like trust me. But probably the past like 3 years, I've asked them to send me some of their songs that they would like in the video, whether it be copyrighted or not copyrighted or whatever, and so I can get a feel for what they like. And then I find songs that I think that they would like, and I make a playlist on Artlist, send it to them. They tell me which ones they like out of those.
Oh, right on. That's cool.
So
That's cool.
It depends on the client, but for weddings, that's mostly how it goes, I think, right? Is that right?
Yeah, and a lot of our projects, Breea will find the music and kind of put together the rough story and the rough clips, just because she's very good at that. And then I go in and do the stuff that she doesn't like to do as much.
And
make sure it's all lined up and
audio stuff
exported correctly, and you know, so she's kind of the music and the story side of things.
That's cool. Well, it sounds like you guys have found a really awesome workflow.
Yeah, it's good. And with our monthly clients that we do every month, so we do crumble cookies. We do all of their
Cool.
videos. And
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's been really fun. We've been doing it for 2 years almost. And so we create a video for them every week. And
just for like their Instagram or?
Yeah, so they come out with a different flavor. Well, they come out with 4 different flavors every week. And so we go and film at their headquarters the new flavor and then put together their flavor reel. And then they post it on a Sunday so that everyone knows what their flavors are for the week. So we do that every week. But those videos are really technical. And that's just, it's food videos. So it's really macro and zoomed in and beautiful. And then the music has to be perfect. Color correcting has to be perfect. So that's like I just line it up like how it goes to the song, just making sure it's on the beat. And then he does all the color correcting for hours. So
days,
months.
But I enjoy it.
I've never done color correcting, but I've watched you do it. And it seems like very time intensive. Like
I'm like, just find me a LUT and slap it on, just a preset, and that would be good for me. Yeah.
Well, and I think that speaks to why a lot of creators do that, where they're like, hey, if you like the way my stuff looks, I've got a LUT pack, that you can check out.
Because you guys have that on your website too, right?
We have presets.
Yeah.
Which is so smart.
LUTs are tricky because everyone films so differently, and I just feel like we wouldn't be able to create something that would work for everybody and be as confident with it. Whereas our presets, I feel like really can help a lot of people. So it's kind of a hard, we're a little nervous about doing LUTs, but maybe someday.
Yeah.
Okay, presets are per picture and then LUTs for like videos.
For LUTs for video, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for Crumble, so I just recently, about almost a year ago now, started working for So Yummy, where we shoot a lot of food. And the whole food styling part of it, I did not realize
how much goes into
my
it.
gosh. And now that we're working from home, I'm doing most of the food styling, and it is so hard. It's
a lot of reshoots. And like you said, a lot of it's macro. You want to see texture. You want to see, and I'm imagining, the ooey gooiness of a cookie and all that stuff. And it's like, you have to have like a dozen cookies to get a single shot.
We literally do. They make us a batch of cookies for each one, a giant pan. And we literally go through all of them by breaking them, or some of them don't look as good, or one of the chocolate chips didn't melt as well. It's like so many little things. And then lighting, we have 3 different lights on them. And it's just like, it's so hard. People need to get paid millions for food videos. They're so hard.
They're really hard. And you can get lost in it too. You can be like, oh, I did the break and it was pretty good, but I would love if there was a chocolate chip right there. So then you're like trying to shove a chocolate chip in there, and then you're trying to We
like have heat guns on everything, just making sure it stays warm, and
Yeah. Just today I was working with ice cream, which is awful.
Don't do
it.
And it just, the moment you take it out of the freezer, it's like, well, you better get your shot in the next 12 seconds.
Yeah, Crumble just came out with ice cream and we wanted to cry.
Yeah, a lot of
like, get somebody else, please.
A lot of our food stylists will just make fake ice cream. They'll just be like, this looks good enough, or like if we're not doing like really tight shots, or just needs to be like a cute, ice cream setup in the background or whatever. It's like, it's potato flakes. They like
really?
They do like a potato flakes mixture, but
that's cool.
Yeah, we've tried. We've seen some of those videos, like food hacks and stuff, and they're just like
using motor oil and
for like syrup on pancakes and stuff. We've tried our best, at least with Crumble, to because it's important to them to like use the actual ingredients. But yeah, like with the ice cream and stuff, it gets really difficult.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's hard to. It's a fine line, and. Let me just start by saying I do not represent the company that I work for. I just am merely an employee. But it's hard. It's a fine line to walk, because on one hand, it's like, it is food styling, and it's so there are going to be things that are elevated. Like a Big Mac on a billboard doesn't look like a Big Mac that comes.
Yep.
They make it look just like
They just you make it look perfect, and it might not be perfect when you make it at home or whatever.
Right. Just like my wedding photos don't look like how I am right now. It's like there's going to be a little airbrushing going on. Okay. So it is hard because I feel the same way, Cody. I'm like, I want to use all the ingredients. I want to use nothing but the real thing. But then when you're on your 65th shot and you're trying to scoop ice cream one last time, you're just like, I don't care what it's made of. Just let me scoop it.
That's probably where most of our fights are, is on our 8th take of a stupid cookie break.
Yeah.
And we just want to kill each other. But
yeah, I don't feel that.
Oh.
So maybe you guys have kind of already answered this then. So I know you guys do, basically you're just fantastic storytellers. So it doesn't matter if it's a wedding or a missionary farewell or homecoming or birth video or whatever. But do you have a favorite thing that you like to shoot?
I think we're both different. I personally love births, and I could shoot births every day if that was possible. But they're extremely hard and time consuming, and waking up at 2:00 in the morning is just like not doable. So I do like one a month, but I am obsessed with them. I love them so much. So
I've never shot a birth.
Thank goodness.
But, maybe someday. I do like the food side of things.
He's a big cook, and he loves food.
So when we get into the new house, we'll probably do more and have a better setup and do some top-down stuff. But I don't know. I like the look of it. I like the color correcting part of it, and just making something look really good. Yeah.
When I first started, I remember telling one of my coworkers, "Well, I love this because food will never tell you they don't like how the hair looks."
It's true.
They'll never look at the back of the camera and be like, "Can we do that again?"
Yeah. Do not show people the back of your camera. That's the worst.
And then it's also, Cody, it sounds like you and I are similar. I love all the technical gear part of it too. So to be able to set up the light exactly the way I want. I remember recently I did some headshots for somebody, and I love setting up like studio lighting and doing that kind of stuff. And then they were like, "Do you mind if we just pop outside and grab some shots?" And I remember Portia.
Excuse me.
I remember Portia. I was showing Portia the shots afterward, and I'm like, "Dude, these are trash, man." Like,
well, it's funny because Michael's very good with studio lighting, and I like doing natural light.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you'll be like, "I need your help because I don't know like how to like where I should pose them, which way the light should be,"
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you like to manipulate it the way you want, and then I like to go find where it's good.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we're the same that way too. You'd much rather just like.
I like being able to have that system down to where we can show up to the shoot and we know exactly where to put things, and it's gonna look exactly the same as last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I hope that the sun looks good today. I hope that it's overcast.
Yeah, that's me. That's so funny.
Yeah, that's funny. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about social media. You guys have a pretty large following on social media, which is awesome. And I wanted to talk to you about there's a lot of like negative emotional feedback that can happen like when you're on social media too much. And so how do you mix business and, because a lot of us go into watching social media and stuff because I know I tell Portia it calms me down, even though it doesn't. After sometimes I look for an hour and I feel worse. But how do you guys mix that? How do you mix the work and the play?
I don't know. I feel like I kind of made a goal to just make social media just like an inspiration thing. And so I don't really follow anyone that I know would make me feel like my work isn't very good, or that I don't know. I'm just following people that I know that would help me be inspired. And so I don't do a ton of scrolling. I do a lot of story watching, which I feel like is better than scrolling because people post things that they're very proud of, that looks really good, and stories are a little bit more raw and candid. And so I do a lot of story watching. I don't do as much scrolling. And then I also feel like I made it a goal just to not care about numbers. And so if we're losing followers, it's like, okay, at least we have clients. Like if we're losing followers and we're losing clients, then that's a problem. But because we still have our normal workflow and I'm losing followers, it's like, hey, well, these people just they're not inspired by me. So these other people that are still following me, like they like my stuff and I'm creating stuff for myself. Like I separated a little bit more. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get on social media a ton.
He has it like 3 pages over on his phone. Like he has to like scroll and then find like 3 different folders to find Instagram.
Put in a password.
It's like ridiculous.
Which is good. I mean, I probably like use YouTube the most. Like I can just spend 2 hours on YouTube.
Amen.
Yeah, that's
Where you're just going through and I don't know, I like Breea said, I really like learning stuff, and so I'll just be on YouTube and just kind of go down that rabbit hole of different videos. And sometimes, like you're saying, you end up 2 hours later and like, man, like I don't feel great. I need to go do something productive. But I think there's obviously pros and cons of social media, and you just have to have those limits sometimes, or else you can get stuck, or it can really affect how you're thinking, your self-perception, your self-image, all those things.
Yeah. I really like what you were saying, Breea, about it's kind of like you have to work with social media, not let it work you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where I like what you're saying about, like, I try not to do a lot of scrolling. Like, you have to set parameters for yourself, or else you can fall down a hole. I think that's really good advice.
And separating clientele from followers.
Yeah.
Because like you said, your followers aren't necessarily your clients. It's people that they could be clients or people that just like are inspired by your work. Because that's a lot of times what people are doing on Instagram. They're just like, well, I just like their pictures, or I like their page, so I'm just gonna follow them. So that's like merely all it is usually. So
I make sure that it's a portfolio. So I post my stuff that I'm proud of, but as far as stories go, it's like I'm here to make people happy. I'm here to make myself happy. We post funny things. We post ourselves eating cereal.
And you guys have a fun TikTok too.
You do.
Yeah.
Let's start at that. I don't know how I feel about it. TikTok kind of scares me. I don't know. It's a whole different world.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're kind of obsessed with TikTok, and I think your guys' content is really good.
Yeah, I think it's great. I am obsessed with TikTok. And in fact, the reason I found out you guys had a TikTok was because I was scrolling on my For You page, and I saw the one where you were walking with Cody, and then he went under the bush.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's funny. And I went to go like it, and then I saw it was Tellthebirds, and I was like, wait a minute. I know these people.
The funny thing about that is literally we have posted 0 content on TikTok that is like made for TikTok. All of it is stories from our Instagram that I've just compiled into videos, because that's what we're good at, is just like making Instagram stories. And that's basically what TikTok is like you just make a little story and put it on there, or whatever your niche is. But anyways.
Yeah.
No, we haven't done any.
We'll see how it goes.
We haven't done any TikTok dances yet. But
challenges.
Challenges. But.
We've done one on yours, right? The
dun.
That one's so cute.
But I'm not trying any of the dances because I look so bad.
Threw your son in that one.
Yes, we did.
Well, we had a blanket set up, like blankets and pillows, and I was like, I just have to throw them out of the way. Everyone commented on that. They're like, he did just kind of fly out of there, didn't he? I'm like, yeah. I promise he didn't get hurt.
You have to do that. In order to get the dance, you got to throw people.
Oh, like, I need to be center of attention. My son can't take all of the fame. He already is all the fame everywhere else, so.
It was great.
I think it's funny, too, because then afterwards he crawls back up and, like, is back in the frame.
He's fine.
Yeah. What I love about TikTok is, I know you guys are storytellers. I like challenging myself to be like, what's the shortest story I can tell? Like, in the shortest way possible, how can I make this funny? Or how can I tell this, like, little story? Which I think is a really fun challenge. Like, can I do this in 15 seconds? And if not 15 seconds, can I do it in a minute? Or, which I think is exciting. I also think it's an exciting platform only because it gives everybody the opportunity to go viral, if you will. there's just like less barriers between you and the people, which I think is cool. Like if you put out good content, it will reflect that, which is how it is now. But who knows? The algorithm will probably change, and all small creators will be screwed. Pardon my French. Just kidding. But that's cool. I agree that. What? What?
I just feel like we should get away from TikTok.
I'm about
okay, were you about to?
I'm segueing.
That's such a wife move. I'm squeezing his leg down here, so.
She literally never puts her arm around me, and then she puts her arm around me. Like,
oh no.
Like, that is she's telling me something. Where would you like to go from here?
Well, I just have a question for these guys, because I'm like you said, you really like couples that work together, because I think we kind of connect, and that's what we do as well. But I kind of want to know what you guys like. What's your process when you go on shoots? Because I know you guys will do video, and sometimes like your packages include photos. So how do you guys kind of like balance that with the two of you? Because I know we've tried to do that before, and sometimes that's a little stressful, because I at least feel like I'm like, both of us should shoot photo and both of us should shoot video, because like it's nice to have like the two. But how do you guys bring people with you ever, or like how does it?
It totally depends on the client. We don't like to offer photo and video of weddings. Like we'll just be like, hey, pick one or the other, because it's really hard to create both and capture like him seeing you for the first time in a first look, photo and video. Like I'm gonna have to screenshot a video or something. So we don't like to offer it, but we do with destination weddings, so that it helps the client save some money on getting a photographer and videographer. And it's doable. It's just really, really hard. Mm-hmm. So depending on the client, depending on whatever, we'll do both and both at the same time. So if we'll just like kind of go through the day, and so we had a wedding in Hawaii, and it was a full day, and we had to do photo and video. And he had to do drone stuff, and we had to get audio and all this stuff. And so we kind of just had to break it down and be like, okay, during the first look, like you video his face and I'll take pictures of her walking, and then I'll video. So we kind of just have to like break it up so that we make sure that we're getting everything that we can, and also let the client know that like not everything is going to be on photo and video. Like some things are just going to have some of the other, and you'll get everything is going to be captured, but it just depends on if it's on video or on photo. So I think just like letting the client know that, you know, it's going to take a toll at some part. Anyways, so, but we do that. And then for like births, I do all the births. Mm-hmm. I do all the photos for the most part, like of engagements and seniors and all that kind of stuff. And then he does all the drone stuff. He does most of the interviewing stuff. You know, it's just like kind of
boring stuff.
Yeah, you do the boring stuff.
Drone's fun though. Drone's fun.
We split it up as evenly as we can, and then kind of tag team the rest.
That's smart.
Yeah, that's cool that you guys kind of like have a setup, because I was thinking I'm like doing photo and video. Like we've had people come to us, and Michael's been like, do you want to do that? And I go, no, like we're not doing photo and video, because like you said, it's like you can't capture every single thing on both platforms if there's just the two of you. So I like that you guys kind of have like a setup plan. It kind of sounds like just like setting up like a storyboard, you know, for like shooting.
Yeah, and a lot of times we'll send them like a storyboard saying like, okay, this is where we'll have to not do video and do pictures if you want pictures here, or if like when you're walking down the aisle, if you'd rather have that on video. You just have to break it up like a ton, but in the end, I don't even think they really notice, because they see everything of the full day and they're like, oh, like I don't see a picture of grandma here, but she's in the video. So I think it all works out as long as we're getting everything that we can, but it's hard. Stressful.
Yeah. Very, very, very stressful. Portia and I have shot a wedding or two, and we both decided that we're not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's not.
I know you guys are really inspiring, because you guys' wedding stuff is so beautiful.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Weddings are crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and we kind of, once we felt a little more confident, probably about 2 years ago, we kind of decided just to do what we love. And we don't love weddings, but if it's a destination wedding and they're going to take us somewhere cool, we'll usually take it. So we only take about 3 weddings a year, 3 to 5.
Yeah.
So we don't really take weddings as much anymore, but destination ones are always kind of worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that you guys travel a lot, and I think that's really fun. Are most of your, like, what kind of things do you guys do when you travel? Is it mostly weddings, or have you guys worked with like service groups or like big productions or?
We so when I first started doing videography, my first video I ever made was a birth video. But then right after that, I was asked to film a international, what is it called? Yeah, humanitarian expedition. And I fell in love with that. And so that's kind of where I wanted to go with it. And that was like all I wanted to do with videography was only get humanitarian groups and just travel nonstop. And I did that for like 2 years. And I loved it. And then, it's not, you just can't do that forever. And so we now just do one client a year that's usually a humanitarian group. So we have worked with Revive Humanity, where we did like an Africa trip, and we did I did like Peru with them, and then we did our friends Haley and Brad Devine. They have a Somewhere Divine expedition, and so we did that with them to Vietnam last year, where we just like take pictures and video of the whole thing and just document the whole trip. So we do that once a year in the summer.
Wow.
That's so cool.
It's really fun.
So do those brands approach you, or do you reach out to them and say, hey, here we are and we'd love to work with you, kind of thing?
It's been both ways. When I first started out, I just would reach out to people and be like, hey, you really should have this documented. I love to travel and I love to document things. I can do it for you if you pay for me. And I didn't even have them pay me for it. I just had a free trip. And that's how I did it for the first 2 years, and I loved it. And then
I told you that.
Then you made me
didn't have any money.
And then I didn't have any money.
And I mean, it's fun to leave for 3 weeks and go do that for free, but that's 3 weeks of not making money, and you always spend more money when you travel than you realize. So then once I had that though, I felt like I could send it to future clients and be like, hey, we offer this if you want to hire us. So now we're getting hired for them. But I think kind of like with anything that you want to do, photography, videography, creative wise, you have to create it yourself and then put it out there so that people know you can do it. But
totally. I think, that's with a lot of things. It's just you have to show that you have that skill or that you're interested in it.
Yeah. I think a line that I've seen through a lot of our guests is that you have to really work at what you want, and you have to be kind of ferocious about it. So if you're like you just said, if you're like, I want to travel and I want to film, and I'm like, hey, I'll do it for free, and that's kind of scrappy, at least in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think you have to kind of do that. Also, I think it's important to put out what you want, because if you just keep it inside, who's gonna know?
Well, and it shows you what you want too. It's like, I didn't know that I loved doing this until I did it, and then I took pictures of a family. I didn't know I hated doing that until I did it.
Just trying and then troubleshooting and being like, well, we're not doing that again.
Yeah, you just have to figure out. I think you have to shoot everything, and I tell all of our mentor people, people that we have Skype sessions with and stuff, that you really have to try everything to figure out what you love and then focus on those things. But because you're trying out everything, you gain these skills of knowing how to pose people, or if you needed a job, you can do that thing because you've done it before. So it's like, do those annoying family pictures, do bar mitzvahs or whatever those things are, and then you have that knowledge of how to do them. You don't like doing them, but you can make money doing them.
Yeah.
Oh, and I know you guys do, are you guys still doing workshops as well?
Yeah.
So how do what do those kind of entail?
Yeah, so we've done actual in-person workshops in the past, which have been awesome.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work, but just to be able to sit down with people for 6 to 8 hours, full day, and go over everything and answer questions and do hands-on things, that's pretty beneficial for them and for us. But what we've been working towards and what we do now is more online offerings. And so we have online courses, an online membership site where people can learn, and like where we post tutorial videos. And so just being able to have a more scalable model where it's not like an in-person workshop once a year, but something where we can serve more people and constantly improve that content online. That's kind of what we're doing now, is more online workshops and courses.
That's really smart. Is that kind of what you mentioned, Breea, when you said mentors, like when you Skype with people?
Yeah, so we offer Skype sessions. We do like 30-minute sessions and 1-hour sessions of just them asking us any questions that they have. Normally it goes more towards the business side of like figuring out how to get an LLC or taxes or pricing, all that stuff, where people just really have a lot of questions, and it's just hard to, write it out in an email. And so it's good to just have these Skype sessions where they can just ask us anything, and we kind of just give them all of our knowledge in an hour.
Wow.
And we started having a lot of those and doing the workshops, and we're just kind of like, all right, like obviously this isn't super scalable. We can't just like do a Skype session every hour. If we take these common questions and make
they're all very similar. Most of the people that Skype with us are very similar in their questions and what they need.
So you package all that together into a course, kind of like a frequently asked questions course, and put that out there, and you can answer to a lot more people for a lot less time and effort on our side, and we can do a better job at it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that you guys are doing that, because I think sometimes, at least this is how I feel when I have like a craft or something, you kind of want to be like, well, like I just want to be the only one that's good at this, But I think that's really cool that you guys are sharing your talents and like wanting to help other people start their own businesses. And you guys are like in a secure space that you don't feel like you're going to get, like less business if there's more photographers in the world, I guess,
Yeah, I feel really passionate about that. And I always have, just because I feel like when I first started, I was in Arizona. It was 2010 when I like first really started doing it, and no one else was really doing it at the time. It kind of started picking up in like 2013, 14. And when that happened, I had already been doing it for so long, and I felt like it was mine. But then a lot of people started doing it. I moved to Utah, and it was so saturated, and photographers were just so secretive. Like, this is my spot. Like, I'm not telling you where this lake is. I'm not telling you where this flower field is. And I just was like so hurt by it. And so I really made it a point to tell everybody everything. And so I would get on Instagram and be like, look at this cool spot I found. This is the location. Like, text me. Here's the pin for it.
Awesome.
Like, if you go at this time, it's a good sunset. Like, and I just wanted to like just really share it and be that photographer that could help you. Like, because we all have the same passion. We all have like this similar bond where we just love to create something. And so why not do it together? It just doesn't make any sense to me when people are secretive about that kind of stuff.
Right?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And I remember
It's weird that's because I've felt I'm kind of similar with you, where I started doing photography in high school, and like I feel like no one else was doing it. I was the same way, where I'm like, well, this is my thing,
Yeah.
But I think that's really important that you're like sharing that with other people.
I think I was talking to somebody once, and they were like, if you could give any advice to your college self, what would it be? And I was like, collaborate.
Yeah.
It's like, I wish I would have I was like, there were so many talented photographers that I wish I would have been like, dude, let's shoot together, or like, let's do something together. But instead I was like, oh, they think they're so cool. In the back of my head, I was like, I wish I was them. No, but just being able to like work with those people and learn from those people.
From each other.
I also think you're leaving a legacy I think Tellthebirds is leaving a legacy behind, which is helping other people grow, which I think is huge. Really cool. Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. And thank you for just being so honest about everything. I feel like I learned a lot today about what you guys do. Thank you.
I feel like we could talk for hours. But it literally felt like 10 minutes.
Well,
I know, right? Was that about an hour?
About an hour, yeah.
I know these always go so quick. It's fun.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you for thinking of
us.
It's so fun when people think that we're cool.
Oh, well, Portia and I, we were like, let's make a list of dream guests.
You guys were like, oh, Tellthebirds for sure. We ought to reach out to them.
Definitely. So I reached out to you guys, and I was like, Portia, hey, they said they would do it.
We waited back and forth. We almost said no. But
Yeah, right.
That
was like similar thing, except I was in the other room. It was like, hey,
Clap
told us they want to do something with us.
Clap louder.
Well, thank you for taking the risk. Thank you guys so much for listening. All their content will be linked down below. You can check them out there. Once again, if you want to get in contact with us, our email is clappodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening. See you next week.